Hey, real quick, everybody, want to give a shout to our friends over at betonline.ag. I know the NFL's over, the Super Bowl's done. We got Major League Baseball, NHL, March Madness coming around the corner, which to me is the greatest postseason sporting event of all time and what I like to wager on the most. So head over to betonline.ag as soon as you can. Tell them Jboy sent you, whether it's prop bets, whether it's parlays, whether you want to go straight up, or whether you're into teasers, pleasers, whatever you like to do. They have it over there, and the online casino is open 24 hours a day. There's always something going down at betonline.ag. So check our friends out over there and tell them Jboy sent you.
You are listening to the Jboy Show, your number one source for Auburn and the SEC.
My goal was to run through his soul and grab his heart when I run through his soul.
Kurt, Nate, Coach Dye. Those are memories.
I think we've established ourselves as, I think, the premier conference in college football.
Now, the SEC is better at the top. It's better in the middle.
The Southeastern Conference remains the premier conference.
Now takes the snap. Looking for the receiver. He's got Lutz Kirkland. Touchdown, Auburn!
Think about it. It's always been the SEC and everybody else trying to catch it.
I think this is probably the best league from a competitive venue standpoint.
They have the most capable teams. You just look at those programs, the way they recruit, how they invest.
Snap to Burrow. 3 steps. Fires. Back corner of the end zone. Over the shoulder catch. Did he hold on? He did. Justin Jefferson. Touchdown, Tigers.
And now, your host, Jboy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Jboy Show. Appreciate you guys joining us. However, watching, listening, it doesn't matter. Just glad you're part of the family. Got a guest on today, a guy, number one, that plays at the highest level, is one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL, especially at the guard spot. Plays unbelievably physical, but he's athletic. Don't let it fool you. It's mid-skill for a reason. Starting Broncos guard, Dalton Risner. Dalton, what's up, dog?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the compliments, and I got to continue to live up to those, man, so I appreciate it.
Hey, well, look, man, I've watched your tape. I've watched you play ever since you were at K-State. Just the physicality you play with, but the things you're able to do and be multiple. And I want to get into that. I want to start there, Dalton, and we're going to get to this foundation you have that's absolutely excellent at the end. But I want to start with a little offensive line play. And my first question to you is, we watch college, whether it's SEC, Big Ten, D2, FCS, and we see these big linemen. A lot of people have a lot of big linemen, but you don't see guys that are easily able to transition, save a few. We all know the freaks of nature, the Jonathan Ogdens and the Tyron Smiths and guys like that. But guys like you that have been able to transition the way you have from college, where you're just accolades galore, whether it's 3-time first team Big 12, co-O lineman of the year in Big 12, which is a huge award in that conference. How was it for you, the transition from college to the NFL? Because there was a lot of expected of you early.
For sure. It's a great nature, and, everyone's different path and the school you come from and how you get to the league and how you transition. And, my story of being from a town of 800 people and literally working for everything that I've gotten and having people that supported me, man, my work ethic has always been something I take pride in. You're not going to look at my arms. You're not going to be like, holy cow, this man's yoked. You're not going to be like, he's 6'8". He weighs 350. None of those things, man. Just my work ethic. And I'd say that throughout college that paid off. And then when it got, you kind of touched on it, but there was no choice. I was drafted 2nd round. I walk into the office the next morning. They hand me a playbook. They say, be back in a week. We expect you to lead all the boys of the rookie class, and we expect you to be a starter. And by the way, we want you to play next to Garrett Bowles. And that's what they said. So for me, man, there was no, hey, let me try to transition. It was, I need to grind. I need to work my absolute tail off. I need to go out there and be a starter, and everything's expected of me. So the transition, I'm not going to say was easy. Of course it was difficult. I could tell you story after story about funny transition stories, man, from college to the league, but it wasn't easy. But like I told you, man, there was no choice. I had to go out there and get after it.
Yeah, you got to drop me one of those stories, man. If you can tell it on here, just drop me a quick one if you don't mind, because I know the audience loves to get behind the scenes, man. It's such a pivotal moment in your life. It's something you've worked up to, and here you go. And you got to kind of prove yourself all over again, even though you were a 2nd round pick.
Exactly. And, I'm a hometown kid, and you know, a lot of people say when they're drafted second round, you know, like, oh, I feel good, I've got it made. You know, I come from the family that we didn't always have a lot of money, and this was a dream of mine ever since I was a kid. You know, I used to be the short, fat kid up in the nosebleeds of Invesco Field at the time, dreaming about being a Denver Bronco. And I always had this dream, but it never seemed real. So when I got this opportunity, there was no ifs, ands, buts about it. I was making it happen. It had been a long road, a lot of adversity. So I remember my agents telling me, you know, you're a second round pick. You didn't make it. You got to live up to that second round pick. Now you got to go after second contract. That's where you take care of your family forever. And he's like, all these rookies at rookie mini, you, because they want to beat the second round pick, and defensive tackles are going to want to beat you so they can make the team. So I went out there with a chip on my shoulder. I was throwing guys around, probably a little dirty, probably a little after play, getting too physical. You know, Coach Fangio calls me up in his office day one. I'm like, man, it only took one day. I'm already getting called to the head coach's office. I'm killing it. Like, I'm like, man, he might even be signing me to a second contract already.
Man, already, we do got it made now.
And I get up there and he's pissed. And he says, you know, I love how you play. That's why we drafted you. But, you know, now you're against your own teammates and you do this, you know, blank, you know, you're going to get fought tomorrow at veteran practice, which is at the end of rookie minicamp. I'm like, okay, coach, I got you. I wasn't really that worried about it because I was like, man, he saw I was physical. He saw what I'm about. You know, I'm not here to play games. So the very first day of practice, I'm walking out and Derek Wolfe, Shelby Harris, Adam Gotsis, all these guys are just standing at the end of the locker room. And I'm like, that's weird. So I'm like, I just tried to squeeze by them. I ain't met any of the guys. They're veterans. I knew of Derek Wolfe and stuff, but they put their arm out. They're like, whoa. And they stopped me. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we just want to let you know that we watched rookie minicamp. And I didn't think veterans care about rookie minicamp, but it made me happy because I'm like, these guys are obviously worried about me. So they had watched my rookie minicamp film and they said, if you do any of that blank out here, you know, you're going to get fought by all three of us. Like, it ain't going to fly. And I'm like, dang, like, here we go, man. So that was just like a
little welcome to it, man.
Yeah. It was like a great story of initiation into the league, man. And yeah, it's pretty funny.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that. Our you know, audiences don't get to hear about that stuff that goes in. And, you know, but that's kind of the locker room police in itself a little bit too, Dalton, in a good way. Not that, you know, it's anything crazy, but it probably brought you guys a little closer together too. But it's a sign of respect. You know what I'm saying? That they watched you and took that time to say, listen, you know, because deep down, you know how defensive linemen are, man. They'll get their cheap shots when they do, but it's such a respect level, and to be able to see you and actually stop you and you know, kind of give you a little love in a weird way. It had to kind of make you feel good a little bit.
Yeah, it felt good. I mean, it felt good that they were watching my film and stuff. At the same time, offensive linemen and defensive linemen do not like each other, especially camp. Like D linemen on the Broncos will always be my boys. But there's months that go on before the season that we do not get along, man. So, you know, they always take their cheap shots. They'll do anything. You just said it, bro. So I'm like, I appreciate them watching film, but at the same time, I'm like, man, you guys are mad about me doing it, but you guys do that every chance you get. So let's go to war, you know?
Hey, without a doubt. I love that story, man. That's fantastic. But Dalton, I want to talk a little bit technique here too, because again, you can be a guy that's huge and all this stuff, but if you don't understand leverage, you don't understand how to play with your hands, you don't understand hat placement, stuff like that, you've got no chance. What was one area that when you got into the league, playing the guard position, whether it was, you know, being able to shoot your hands and do stuff like that, that you feel like really kind of propelled you to continue to have the career that you're having? Was it leverage or was it something I didn't even mention?
NFL blocking as an offensive lineman is so much about leverage. It's so much about intangibles sometimes as well. You know, do you have quick feet? Do you have slow feet? Do you have long arms? Do you have short arms? Are you physical? Do you have an edge? Do you know how to use leverage? Do you position block or do you use leverage? I could go on and on, man. Obviously, size is great here and there. I'd say a couple things that help me, man. One, I have extremely long arms. That helps me a ton. I'm not going to be the big bruiser in the weight room, putting up 500 pounds on the bench, but I got my farm strength from how I grew up. So I use my farm strength, man. I got my long arms. I'm versatile. You know, I'm not too chubby. I don't have a huge gut. I'm able to get out and pull and be athletic and make blocks on linebackers. All that stuff helped me, man. But you nailed it when you talked about it. I think leverage is so important in the game of football. And there's so much more. Me and you could talk for hours. You know, you look at a defensive line and some people are like, well, outside zone, you got to get your inside hand to his sternum and you got to reach him and you got to go off the ball hard. Well, there's also schemes where your center's trying to get up to the mic and if that 3-tech spikes, the center's not going to take him some games. So you got to be prepared when you take that second step. You can't cross over because he's going to go inside.
Yeah,
so you
you're in
think
trouble.
Getting good leverage. But, man, I could talk to you about breaks down in different ways. But 100%, my long arms saved me in a lot of situations. My edge or grit, however you want to call it, like I'm willing to put my body in a war zone. Yeah. I'm willing to fight 10 seconds after the whistle just to make sure my hit. Those are some of the things, including leverage, that really helped me and are key to being a good offensive lineman, in my opinion.
Hey, without a doubt. Look, I'd love to spend hours talking with you about it, man. I'm sure our audience would. I think that's what separates our show. But I want to talk about pulling for a second. Me, as a guard, when you get a chance to pull, whether it's going to kick out the end in gap scheme or anything like that, is pulling your favorite? Is it something that when they call that play and you know that you're pulling, especially if there's a little chippiness maybe from the guys on the defensive line where you're like, all right, well, now I get to not only fire off the ball, but whether I bucket step or whether I skip step, however I get out, I'm going to go try and lay the lumber on somebody and open up this gap a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, man. When you get the number called to be a puller, which I get called quite a bit. I think there's a game this year where I pulled 5 times in a row against the Chiefs. You love that. You also really love when you get a chance to get a cornerback that's blitzing or a linebacker goes inside, so you get to pick up a DB. That's when it gets really fun. But it's a great opportunity to be physical, great opportunity to bust some huge runs, a great play of ours. It's a lot harder than it looks sometimes. You got your center down blocking against Chris Jones from the Chiefs, and you got to make sure that you get a good enough open pull to where you don't get stepped on by him, and you got to clear him. And then if there's any penetration on the play side from the guard or tackle, you got to make sure you bow out, but then you're ready to take it tight around the corner. And you don't know if you have a blitzing backer. You don't know if the tight end will take the D end. The D end might loop outside, so the tight end might go get the backer, and then you got to trap the D end. Or he might take the D end and the linebacker will come humming across the edge. You got to log the D end. So, the linebacker. So there's a lot of different elements to it, man. But I love getting my number called for those plays. Great opportunity to be physical, get my running back out in space.
Oh, without a doubt, man. And it's something I know that guards look forward to pulling in. And I want to ask you too, Dalton. I think a lot of people think, all right, well, it's 4 down. All right, well, it's 3 down. I know they're going to be gapped out, whatever. But how many times in the NFL do you actually get a true look? And if they get in an over, they actually play their gaps. It looks like to me the NFL's evolving so much, even from a run stunt standpoint, which as a defensive coach used to scare me to death up front. But, are you getting true looks most of the time? Are you talking about guys spiking in passing situations, getting that TE stunt there on the end where you got to sit back and collect? How much true looks do you guys get as opposed to what you're talking about where the play starts and you're getting to Chris Jones ripping into a gap you didn't think you were going to? Because I'm sure that happens a ton, obviously, depending on the team you play.
Yeah, there's very few true looks nowadays in the league. You get on the offensive line and you study film, and there's definitely a few blitz packages every single game that you can look at from the teams before and say, man, if I see them lining up here and I see them doing this, I'm pretty sure this blitz is coming. And then you get a feel for it in the game. Sometimes you see the D tackle and the D end talk and a twist is coming. Sometimes you just see with their feet that are back or how much pressure's in their hand as if they're hitting a gap or if they're going to try to slant inside. So I won't say there's no way to figure that stuff out, because if you're a good pro, you watch enough film and enough technique to figure out those tendencies. But at the same time, teams will line up in a 4 down and we'll be watching film and Chris Jones will slant to the A gap and the D end will still have C gap and the B gap will be wide open. But he's just making a play. He could tell that I was overreaching him. So he slanted to the A, leaving the B gap completely open, but he just took a shot. So there's so many different things. Or they go 3 down, but then they bring someone off the edge that they've never brought before. It's tough, man. There's a lot of fronts you get up there and you think, oh, man, we're good. It's a 3-4, odd, we're good, or this is an even, or whatever front you're thinking, and then they do something completely different. So that's a big part of football. That's what separates good offensive linemen from great offensive linemen, in my opinion, is can you go out there and play ball at a high speed? And you get up there and it's a front you haven't seen, but you know your rules and you know where you got to go. And even if there's movement, you still get it done. That's a good football player.
Definitely. And I got a term for it when you're getting all the spikes and all the crosses and the snakes. I call it the dark arts, a little Harry Potter reference there on the defensive line when those defensive line guys get into their dark arts. But I do want to take 1 second to talk about our newest sponsor, eBay. whether it's rare, dead stock, latest release, find the exact shoe you're looking for. As the original sneaker marketplace, eBay is the place to go to cop the pair you've been eyeing. With their authenticity guarantee, sneakers are meticulously inspected by a bunch of professional authenticators. A team of experienced sneaker authenticators verify your box, logo, stitching, and more. So go to ebay.com/sneakersaday. eBay, the world's best destination for discovering great value and unique selection. And getting back here with one of the best offensive linemen in the game, Dalton Risner. Going to talk about the Risner Up Foundation here in a second. But my last kind of question, I know where you guys play in Denver, the air is a little bit thinner. How much do you see that affect teams coming from other places that haven't had to play in that element, especially in the third and fourth quarter? And is that something that you guys get preached to when we're playing at home? And again, you want to dominate the second half, obviously, in every place you play. But at home, we got them where we want them if we're in it in the third and fourth quarter, because we've been practicing here. We've been working here. You go to the grocery store here, so you get used to the air. Is that a big factor, or is everybody just in such good shape, Dalton, that it really doesn't matter?
Well, it's a tough question. I grew up here, so I lived here my whole life. I've never noticed anything different about the air here. I went out to Kansas State. I noticed it was more humid in college, but for me, I never noticed a difference. But we have guys that come onto our team free agency every year, and they talk about how much different it is. And I actually have a story from this last year. We're playing the Dolphins, and we absolutely owned a good football team. Tua didn't have the best game. They went to I don't know who Fitzpatrick they put in at the end. Anyways, we played a good Dolphins team while they were hot, and we had a bad record at the time when we beat them. And I remember their defensive lineman telling me, like, dude, how do y'all breathe down here? Like, this is bad. And that was in the fourth quarter. And as soon as he said that, I knew we had him, and we were marching on him, running the ball all over him. So that would be a situation where I did see that be a factor, man. Up until that point, I would have told you, I don't think it's really a factor, but after that game, I've started to think more and more like, man, maybe this thing really does affect people.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I went out to Colorado Springs one time, the first time I ever went to Colorado, and went on a little run, and they had to hook me up to an oxygen tank. I felt like my body was melting. But it's great, beautiful, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. But I do, last question before we get to the foundation. Who is the D lineman that you play? You talk about Chris Jones, who's an absolute monster. You got guys like Aaron Donald. I'm not going to say a guy that you play against that's the best guy, but who's a guy, I want to frame it in this reference because I know how confident and how well you play against any defensive lineman you guys go up against. Who's a guy that you look forward to in knowing that I'm going to compete against a guy that is playing at the highest level of football anywhere on this planet Earth? And if you send a spaceship outside the solar system, you probably wouldn't find one better either.
I loved playing Clowney for the Titans. I absolutely loved the opportunity to go against Cameron Hayward for the Steelers. I watched that guy growing up. I had a great game against Cameron Hayward for the Steelers. I was excited to go against Keenan Williams with the Jets. He was a heck of a football player. Chris Jones with the Chiefs. Jarrell Casey when he was with the Titans my first year. I was really excited for that opportunity. There's great players. When I play the Raiders, I get to go against Arden Key. I get to go against Clint Farrell. I get to go against Farrell. I get to go against the big boy in the middle, Jonathan Hankins. I could name every team, man. I mean, it's the league. Of course, somewhere above others, Chris Jones in my conference would probably be the best one in my conference. Okay. But, Vita Vea for the Bucks and Ndamukong Suh, Pierre Paul, Shaq Barrett, like guards get to go against a variety of guys in that D line. Usually all four of the guys on the defensive line or three guys you get to go against every game. So as I go through the season, I can click on every team and think about a great guy, whether it's a veteran that was not really in his prime anymore, but he used to be a beast, or a veteran that's still in his prime, or a rookie like me that's in his prime, man. Every game I have an opportunity to go against great guys. So I couldn't really pick one for you, man. Aaron Donald's kind of been on my checklist my whole career, just because he's a great football player, and I want to see how I match up when I get the opportunity to play him. And he's probably the only guy I could sit here and say, yeah, I haven't went against him. I've played 32 games in a row now, and got to play a variety of teams, but not Aaron Donald yet. So when that day comes, I'm going to be very excited.
Hey, well, I'm checking that game out, and I'm not even watching the ball, Dalton. I'm watching that matchup. I always tell our audience, if you want to know how the game's going, don't watch the ball. Watch the line of scrimmage. That's where the game's won and lost. You can almost predict the future. But, again, that's a great answer, man. And you're right, the league. Even the old veterans that aren't in their prime, they still got the tricks. They know the tricks in the trade to get in there. But I want to talk about your foundation, man. And we talk about football and all that stuff's great, but we all know there's stuff that's way more important than that. And can you just kind of tell our audience about the Risner Up Foundation and what you guys are doing? Because it's great stuff.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate it, man. I appreciate you bringing it up. One thing I believe in is, I'm 6'5", 300 pounds. I didn't work hard to be this big. A lot of kids would kill to have size because they want to play professional sports. So I look at the size that I have. I have Bible scripture all up and down my body, on my arms, and I'm down here on earth to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. My faith is by far the most important thing to me. So when I look at how big I am and the size I was blessed with and my faith, I come to one conclusion, and that's that, Jesus wanted me to have this platform of the NFL to, speak good into existence with this platform, be a good person, be a role model, care for others, impact people's lives beyond the football field, and leave a legacy that, I don't care if they talk about how good of a football player I was. I want to leave a legacy that people like, that was a good dude. He impacted this world. He changed lives. And that's what's most important to me. That's how I found who Dalton Risner is and what I really want to do in life. And that's leave a legacy. And that's why I created the Risner Up Foundation, which is a nonprofit 501(c)(3). I created this way back in college. And instead of just doing a lot of community work myself, I want to empower other people to do the exact same thing, to really make an impact down here on earth, man. So the Risner Up Foundation is not dedicated to one realm of, impact. It's not just for leukemia cancer. It's not just for Special Olympics. We do tons of different things each and every week. And that's what truly matters. We just want to make a small difference, whether it's holding the door for someone, or it's being a part of Special Olympics and going to events, or helping someone get a new house, or helping a kid that has cancer out, whatever it may be, man. We're all about just using the platform to make an actual impact in this world. And risnerup.com. Check out the foundation at Risner Up Foundation on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then my social media handle is Dalton_Risner66. So for everyone watching, you got to check everything out.
Hey, definitely. And our audience, they'll hit it. We have the best audience in the world, man. They're definitely going to check that out. They want to help. And again, like you said, at the end of the day, when they put you in the ground, it's not about how well you played in the field. It's how many lives you impacted, and you're doing something obviously huge. I think it's so smart the way you did it to umbrella everything. You didn't, and there's nothing wrong with it. Pigeonhole yourself into one thing, and you can affect way more people that way, man. And it's just offensive linemen, the smartest people on the planet. I keep saying, if I ever, and I coached for a while, and if I ever had to go up to a player and say, listen, you got to do my taxes, I'm going to an offensive lineman. I'm definitely not going in the DB or wide receiver room. I promise you that.
I love it, bro. Got respect for the O-lineman. I love it, man. You know your stuff.
Oh, dude. Well, it's the engine that drives the car, man. You know what I'm saying? It's the brain and the body. But Dalton, I really appreciate you coming on, man, talking a little ball with us, giving our audience a little bit of perspective, not only in your game and what goes on at the line of scrimmage, but what you guys are doing off the field, man. I'd love to get you back on here before the season starts. I know you're super busy. And again, it really means a lot for you coming on here. And I know our audience really appreciates it, bro.
Yeah, no problem, man. God bless. Go Broncos. And let me know when you want me back on. No worries at all.
Awesome, man. Be safe out there and keep doing it, man. Enjoying watching your career blossom. It's fun to watch.
All right, will do. Thanks so much, man.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening and watching, however you're doing it, to the Jboy Show. We got merch on the way. Make sure you get ready for that. Check us out at thejboyshow.com. Hit that donate button if you want. And until next time, it's another edition of the Jboy Show. Jboy's going, gone. The Jboy Show is produced by David Cohn, technical director Dave Hammock, creative director David Culbertson, audio engineer Faison, production assistant Kyle Orr, and our executive producers Jake Crane, Vince Thompson, and of course we film at Melt Sports in Atlanta, GA. So come check us out.